This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hello, this is Darius Oliver, Divine Numerologist. We're here today. Today is the 31st. Today's the last day of this month, this calendar month of August. I was about to say October. Last day of August. Man, it's been crazy. It's been intense. We had some really strong energies this month. Just a lot happened and a lot changing. A lot of people going through things. I mean, just look at the numbers, the numerology of it, you know. Wow. Like, we're talking about the number of the day, but we're also talking about the number of the month. Today is an intense type of energy as well. Also, depending on what your personal numbers are, what's your personal day, what's your personal year. And then not even just that, not even just the numbers, but where the astrology falls into place on this, because that all plays a part into this entire dynamic of what's going on. You know, what's really great to know and acknowledge is the divine aspect of the numbers, the divine meanings that the numbers carry, and the higher vibrations that they allow us to attune to. For those of you that have been going throughout the month, just kind of wondering how things work as far as how to use the numbers, how to use them to your advantage, there's definite ways to use these numbers. Kayla Meeks on my private page, she asked me what her birthday. She says she's Leo. She says her birthday is July 26th. So that's awesome that you asked that, because you just had your birthday, Kayla, and the 26th, 2 and 6 is 8 when you add it together, and we're in the 8th month. So for you, if you're still on, I'd be very curious to see how your day on August 26th happened. How was it? Especially considering the fact that the planet 8 is ruled and assigned to the number 8 is assigned and ruled by the planet Saturn. And Saturn right now is in retrograde. So Saturn being in retrograde, it's been in retrograde since April 17th. And it goes direct in September 6th. Now, when Saturn goes retrograde, see, Saturn is that planet that represents it's related to limitation, it's related to structure, it's related to boxes and boundaries and rules and guidelines that we ourselves establish and that we use to create a box or a container within which we interact. 8 is a number of interaction. But particularly with this Saturn retrograde, whenever a planet is retrograde, it is meaning that the planet appears like it's spinning backwards. It appears that it's spinning backwards from our perspective on the Earth. And that's only because when the planets are orbiting, the Earth gets to a particular location or spot where from the sky it looks like this planet, instead of spinning forward, is spinning backwards. So from the perspective of people on the Earth, what they are receiving are the reversed effect of the energy of that planet. So since Saturn also represents planning, moving forward with projects, work, businesses, economy, economics, social structure. Since it deals with those things, it will be playing a part in those elements on the planet during its retrograde period. Whereas normally when it's moving forward, or direct as they call it, things may move a bit more smooth. But during its retrograde time, it's a feeling of unbalance, or a feeling of frustration when trying to establish, what you like, some plan or some way of moving forward in a business of some kind, or in a relationship of some kind. And it also relates to healing and releasing old patterns that no longer serve you, as it relates to where Saturn appears in your chart. And wow, for me personally, I will speak for myself, and I will say that I have Saturn in my 7th house of partnership and business. Business partnerships, relationships, marriage, things like that. And Saturn has definitely shown me many lessons during this period of time between April 17th and the current day until the September 6th. I definitely have, been seeing old patterns that are no longer needed and that needed to be released. Very grateful for that. Very grateful for that. But I'm just speaking from experience that, oh man, that stuff, it's one thing to hear about it, and it's one thing to say, oh, this is what happens. But when you experience it, when you live through it, and you're able to be conscious of what you're experiencing, then it takes it to a whole nother level. And not just are you able to know this, but when someone comes to you for counseling or guidance or advice, you're able to say, hey, look, man, during this time frame, I personally experienced this while I was observing the effects of that planet on me while I was living it. So since Saturn was retrograde, August being ruled by the planet Saturn, because it's the 8th month, carried intense energies. And certain events that were happening in the month of August were also affected by Mercury being in retrograde. Mercury was in retrograde this month until about the 14th through the 16th of August. That's when it went direct. But anytime before that, you were experiencing the effects of both Saturn in retrograde and Mercury in retrograde. Mercury is talking about communication. Mercury is communication and how we're interacting and communicating with other people, whether that's through the phone or in face-to-face interaction. So that's a little bit. We got some people asking. Let's take a look. For everybody that's tuned in, hey, thanks for checking out the show today. We got some really cool information for you today. Rebecca Billig wants to know, her birthday is born, she's the 28th of November, so hers is almost coming up. And so you want to know about the number 28. 28, that's the 2 and 8. 2 is cooperation and balance. 8 is abundance and power, structure. And where we have this combination, we have the 2 and 8 creating a 1 energy. 1 is more of an entrepreneurial, individual vibration that is really about learning about itself, learning how to be the self, how to become comfortable in accepting your awesomeness. Everyone's here to accept their awesomeness, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, certain people have a little bit more of a challenge with that. And that's because through certain people carrying that energy, namely the 1 energy, the 1 is to use that confidence to be a trailblazer and to be very individualistic. That's why it can be a challenge, because they're here to go against the norms and not care what other people think. It's actually a better way to put that is they're not here to not care about what other people think, but to place more priority over what their inner guidance is telling them, as opposed to paying attention to external sources. That's a real big thing for the one to learn. And one thing, here's this, man, I'll tell you straight. Rebecca Bellig, it's so awesome that you're born on the 28th, because I have a 28 life path. And one thing about the number 28 is that it's known as a number that can repeat mistakes, right? Unless it follows its guidance. Repeating projects, repeating things, because it has the energy of 2, and then 8, which is kind of bringing out delays at times, and things like that. But when we learn our particular lesson, or when we identify it, when we're able to see what the lesson is and actually benefit from it and make a different decision, then we don't repeat the mistake. We pass the test. But the part of passing the test is having the confidence to follow that guidance. So we'll get the guidance, but have trouble trusting the guidance because we're not entirely sure if it's correct, because a lot of times it's coming from within. Since the one is here to learn confidence and self-trust, trusting the self's guidance is the challenge. Being able to discern between the message of this is right, okay, this is not. Doing this, man, just got a big old lesson, like about, something related to needs versus wants. A lot of times we hear it's not about what you need, it's not about what you want, it's about what you need. So we're like, what the heck does that mean? What the heck does that mean? Somebody tells you, oh, it's not about what you want, it's about what you need. Well, does that mean that you won't get what you want? No. That's one of the things that I was helped to understand recently. It's because with understanding, and here's how I got this. Someone told me, they said, hey, look, it's not about what you want, it's about what you need. So I got frustrated. But then I figured it out that why is because if we do the things we need to do, then our needs will be taken care of. If our needs are taken care of, then our wants, we can take care of our own wants. Mm-hmm. But if we only focus on the things we want to do, which may or may not be practical all the time, then we may not get to have our needs met if we only focus on doing the things we want to do. That may not make sense, but then it may make sense to you, depending on where, what your experiences are. But, and then the term free will. Wow. Big concept, huge concept, man. What is free will? What is free will? I just got some insight on that, on what free will is. And free will is talking about lessons that we're here to learn and being able to choose the way that we learn the lesson. Meaning we agreed, before we came to this planet, we agreed that we're going to learn the lesson of self-trust. You can learn self-trust this way, or you can learn self-trust that way. You have a choice as to which path you choose to take. Either way, the lesson will be the same or similar. And either way, one may have a more favorable outcome than the other. And so while it that simple explanation may not go and explain the ins and outs, And you know what? Some people may still not understand exactly what free will is. But what I mean, at least the way another way of understanding it. You know, but that's all right. That's all right. I'll probably talk about it more as I learn more about it. Because I mean, I'm just very thankful, like that I have people helping me to understand these things. Because I didn't get it. I really didn't understand it that much, but it's a lot more clear now. Let's see. Some people are asking for birthdays. Let's see. Okay. We got a question from our professional equipment manager, Edward Heitman.
Thank you very much. Actually, my question was about something that you were talking about earlier regarding the month of August, and how you said that it was about it was involving the effects of I believe you said it was Saturn retrograde and also Mercury retrograde. I didn't necessarily know that a month can be affected by two separate planets affecting that kind of stuff. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on how that works?
Great question. All right, so asking about how does Mercury retrograde and how does Saturn retrograde affect the Earth? Mm-hmm. Why do those things that are moving in the sky, like, how does it affect us?
Yes.
Well, many people will give you a different answer, right? But the answer that I'll share today is that it's something called resonance. Resonance. Yes. And you've heard the saying, as above, so below.
Yes.
Some people will say that we have the entire universe contained inside of us.
Interesting.
Not just that, but the entire universe above is also played out in the Earth around us and outside. Different planets affect certain elements that resonate with the vibration that they carry. So, that being the case, certain elements related to economy, economics, social structures, these, through observation over long periods of time, thousands of years, we found have had a correlation with the movements of planets as we observe it. As to the exact way that this planet is affecting, it's like Saturn sitting there like, hey, I'm this planet, I'm sitting out there in space. I'm going to affect the economy right now. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Mercury, he's like, hey, I'm Mercury. I'm going to affect people's communication because I'm in this thing called retrograde. That is somewhat mysterious in the same way that electricity is invisible, but we can still experience the benefits. You know, like we don't know what the heck electricity really is.
Yeah,
we don't really understand what a thought is. Technically, thoughts don't really exist, but we know we're conscious.
True.
Like if someone opens a brain, where's the thoughts at? You know?
Yeah. They could pinpoint the spot where thoughts come from, but they can't necessarily identify what a thought is.
Right. It's electric currents.
Yeah.
Right? But they are there and they're creating consciousness. But, that goes on to a whole nother topic. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying that to illustrate the point that there's an element of mystery still there as to how or why certain elements of the earth and what we experience in our life are affected by these celestial bodies.
Yes.
But through observation over thousands of years, we've definitely noticed correlations between the movement and behavior of the celestial bodies like Saturn, Mercury, and how they affect us on the earth in our day-to-day experience. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that just about does it, yeah.
Okay, like another example, we know that one way that the planets can seek expression is through the numbers that they rule. Mm-hmm. This being the 8th month, that 8 energy, that means that it's going to filter out, especially in this particular month.
Okay.
Especially on the days that equal 8, like the 17th, the 8th, and the 26th. You're going to notice more on those days, since they're even more influenced by the planet Saturn, the effects of Mercury retrograde showing itself. Mercury. The ancients assigned Mercury the number 5. So on days like the 5th, 14th, or the 23rd, you're going to notice certain effects related to that planet, the movement. It's going to be a little bit more pronounced. You'll be able to really identify it. Mercury retrograde doesn't just affect communication, but also technology. Before August 14th and 16th, one of the things that, because that was during Mercury retrograde, before that time, before the August 14th and 16th, issues related to cell phone communication, misunderstandings in relationships, misunderstandings in contracts, business partnerships, anything dealing with communication and broadcasting even, may have had little glitches. Things like that. Those are the type of things that we pay attention to. Basically, the symptoms. Similar to how a doctor is able to identify or diagnose.
Yeah.
Based on the symptoms he observes in a patient or a client. We are able to identify what those symptoms are in our regular experience based on the movement of the planets.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Awesome. That answers the question?
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So let's get back to some folks that are asking questions or for their birthdays. So Pebbles Rodriguez wants to know about the 17th. The number 17 correlates to the star card in the tarot. And the star is symbolized by the zodiac sign known as Aquarius. Because in the card known as the star, it shows a woman that's pouring pitchers of water. 1 foot on the water, on the lake, and then 1 foot on the grass. Symbolizing connectedness to the earth and connectedness to the intuition. But also the 17 card really emphasizes hope and faith over, after experiencing trials and setbacks. The 1 is the number of individuality, like we mentioned before, creativity. It's like the entrepreneurial that, hey, I feel good about trusting myself. The 7 takes it inside and says, I'm going to analyze. I'm going to analyze and do introspection. And the 1 says, when you have the 1 next to the 7, they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be an individual as I analyze this situation. I'm going to analyze this circumstance that I see right here. And what's 1 plus 7? It's 8. So after I analyze, I'm going to connect. 8 is connection and disconnection. So I'm going to connect the dots with what I analyze, and I'm going to do the number 1 and take action. 1 is about action as well. Let's see. Jamie Goodman wants to know about Sunday, September 2nd. So the 2nd of the month, the number 2 correlates to cooperation and balance, relationships. The number 2 is externally centered, externally focused. So it learns and it goes throughout life, learning by observing, right? Hopefully we could all learn from observing. That's awesome. It saves us time. So, we just observe stuff. But the way the 2 does it, 2 likes to have someone there, right? 2 is about partnership. 2 is about cooperation. Any word that starts with the letter CO, that is what 2 deals with. 2 is also strong intuition because it's the 2nd card in the tarot, which is the High Priestess. 2 also relates to the moon, because the moon is number 2. The sun is number 1. We're talking traditionally speaking. So the 2, it's so interesting that the 2 rules the moon, but it's also the 18th tarot card in the deck of the tarot. A friend of mine just showed me this correlation. That when you add the moon, which is 18, to the high priestess, which is number 2, it adds up to 20. And that gives you another 2 right there. In fact, each one of the major arcana cards in the tarot, when you add it to its opposite, it's going to add up to the number 20. So interesting how it works. My friend showed me that. That was cool. So that's a little bit about 2. Amber Lee Holm wants to know about December 7th. And you're born 1995, December 7th. So if you guys want something a little more in-depth, or actually a lot more in-depth, call me, message me, and so we could work together, do something more private, in-depth for you guys, so we'll have a little bit more time to go over your chart individually. But Amber Lee Holm, born on the 7th, that's, hey, look, I want to introspect and analyze things. I'm a student of truth. That's what 7 is. I'm a student of truth. I seek truth. 7's like, you know what? There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could tell people and tell people my business, but I'm not telling nobody my business. I'm keeping my stuff to myself. That's what 7 is like. 7 is a very private number. It's 7 says, hey, I could be around people. I can enjoy other people's company, but I'm going to enjoy my own company. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to get lost in my thoughts and create, I'm going to visualize. 7 is the mind. 7 is developing the mind. And it can be very philosophical and develop a philosophical viewpoint of life. Oh, go ahead, man.
So, before we did the show, before we got this whole thing started, I mentioned that my birthday was coming up. My birthday is October 19th, 1996. And this year I'll be turning 22. And you mentioned that that's the Master Builder year. Would you mind elaborating a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. Great question. So when you asked me that earlier, I said that you would be going into a Master Builder year. Mm-hmm. So what that means now is that you're in this year, you're in a 3 personal year. Now that's going to shift after your next birthday. Personal years shift every birthday. What the personal 3 is, it's really, this year has been really emphasizing your ability to express yourself. Mm-hmm. I remember speaking to you, you told me that you had something like a show.
Yeah, I have my show here every Saturday from 1 to 2.
Right. Mm-hmm. And when you add up certain numbers, you also find correlations. Like you said, your show's from 1 to 2. What's 1 plus 2?
3.
And you're in a personal 3 year.
Okay.
But not just any 3 year. You're in a personal 21 3.
Okay.
This is symbolized by the card known as the World.
The World.
Yeah, this is the 21st card in the tarot. Mm. So your personal year is the World card. So if you look at the meaning of the World, it's showing... It's kind of like how at the end of The Wizard of Oz, where they melted the witch and they got the broom and they won and did everything. Mm-hmm. They completed it. It's like at the end of The Lion King, defeated Scar, overcame all the obstacles, came to the end and completed it. End of Star Wars, defeated Darth Vader, went to the end and completed it. That's what the World represents. The World represents a long journey of you overcoming obstacles that you faced and having gone through the personal transformation that was required for you and learning the lessons that you've learned in that time up until you get to the end point where you completed the game or the movie or the lesson. And it's saying, hey, look, you finished this part of your life. Now it's on to the next. That's kind of like what the World is. Okay. That's the type of personal year you're in. And so for this one, right? So next year being in a personal 22 is, yes, it's the Master Builder, but it also correlates to the Fool in the tarot, right? Okay. The Fool. Oh my God, the Fool. No, it's not bad. It's like, but it sounds, you know, what I mean, if I just tell you the Fool and you know that's your first time hearing it, the reason why he's called the Fool is because if you look at the card, it looks like there's this. It's a picture of this guy. He's oblivious. He's like looking at the sky. He's got a dog like Toto or somebody like, you know, following him. He's got like a knapsack on his back. Totally unaware of everything that's going on. Doesn't care what's going on. There's a cliff. He's about to walk off the cliff. And everybody looking at this guy's like, dude, how come this guy's about to walk off the cliff? And they're like, he's a fool. He's a fool. Why is he walking off the cliff? Then the man opens his eyes and sees that there's a cliff there. And he doesn't stop. He keeps walking. Suddenly, oh man, wow, he really is a fool because he opened his eyes and saw that there was nothing there. There's a cliff. So why does that man keep walking? Why does he walk? You know what? And then he walks off the cliff. And why does he do that? Because that card is known as the leap of faith.
Okay.
Why does the man walk off the cliff? Because he knows that the hand of divinity, the divine hand, is there to catch him.
Okay.
But the observers don't see that. They just see that man taking whatever apparent risk is involved. In fact, they might have been the ones on the sideline saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure? You sure you want to do that? Think twice." I don't know. You know, Johnny Hillscott, he tried that last month. You know, it didn't work out too well. You know, that's you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, it's just like some random thing, you know, but it just gets the point. It's like they're going to look at you like that's what happens. You're taking a leap of faith. People around you who don't know the things you know, people around you who don't have your intuition or they're not able to feel what your stomach, what your gut is telling you, are going to discourage you from going in the direction that you know is right. That may happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just saying that's one of the characteristics of the Fool card. And it's about taking that leap of faith and knowing and trusting that it will all work out. 22 as an angel number is about patience. It's about faith and belief, trust and hope, and knowing that everything will work out. It's about trusting in the divine guidance.
Okay.
And calling upon that divine guidance. That's what 22 is about. And then you add the 2 and the 2 together, you get 4. That's the structure part. That's the 4. The 22 itself, why is it such a master builder vibration? It's because it has the repeating number sequence. What it also means is next year, whatever you're trying to do, you're going to be busy. You're going to be busy. You're going to be working hard.
Cool.
Doing whatever it is. I don't know what the heck you're going to be doing. But whatever it is.
I don't even know yet, but cool.
Right. You're going to be involved in something, like an undertaking. Right? Whatever it is. But it's going to have to do with something in your relationships.
Okay.
Because we have the 2. So it could be a relationship with friends, family, work. You know, you setting new foundations of some kind because of that 4 energy. And so it also is a really strong material number as well. Next year is really going to be about you laying a foundation for yourself. You're going to really be focused on laying a strong foundation. And it just so happens today's the 31st, which is another 4 day, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. We got some folks on here asking questions. Does that answer your question, Ed?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So we got Tina Verwers asking about the 27th. And that the 27th card in the tarot is the Ace of Wands, which is the beginning of ambition.
Okay.
It's the beginning of ambition. Everything that you're able to accomplish potentially with that fire, that flame, right? Because that's what the wand represents. That that strong passion of accomplishing your goal, like that ambition. It's like you want to go and do this. You want to go and do that. Rose Tinsley, your birthday, okay, the 29th of February. So here we go with the 29th. 29th correlates to the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands. And whenever we have three, we're talking about expression. We're talking about integration. And those wands are like that fire. Three is the element of wind. So it's kind of like having a fire that's lit and blowing it with the wind. And what happens when you mix wind and fire, it catches, it takes, right? It takes to it, becomes a huge flame. Ooh, so that means you really want to surround yourself with people that are going to fan your flames. Surround yourself with people that will fan your flame.
Okay.
The 29th, also, since 2 and 9 adds up to 11, that is a master number, the master intuitive, master inspirer. 11 loves to inspire and motivate people. That's what it does. That's its nature. It's also incredibly intuitive. It's related to the Justice card. 11 is the Justice card in the tarot. 1 and 1 adds up to 2, and that's the High Priestess. So you have these numbers that are really emphasizing your intuition. April Olivares, born on the 23rd of April. No coincidence, obviously, that your name is April. Hope everything is working really awesome with you, April, especially after meeting you. April is someone that we met up in Carlsbad last Sunday, a client of ours, and had an awesome treatment, awesome session, and definitely learned some incredible things related to spirituality for her. So she's born on the 23rd. 2 and 3 correlate to the number 5, which is Mercury. Mercury is about change, movement, freedom, and travel. It's about motion. The number 5 correlates to Mercury. People who have 5 prominent in their charts or in their birthdays or whatever are known to be very intelligent. I'm not just saying this because I'm born on the 5th. But the reason why is because the planet Mercury is known as a planet that not only governs communication, but also intellect, intelligence. In Sanskrit, they don't even call Mercury, they call it Buddha, right? The word Buddha, when they say it as it refers to the planet, isn't talking about the man Gautama Buddha. It's talking about, literally, Buddha means intelligence. So when they're looking up at the sky at the planet Mercury, they're saying, oh, look, there goes Buddha. They're really saying, oh, look, there goes intelligence. Intelligence is rising at, okay, that's intelligence right there. And that's what the literal meaning of Buddha is, especially when they're talking about Mercury, the planet. It's literally called intelligence. And so that's the reason why is because throughout history, throughout the thousands of years of observing the effects these planets have, Mercury or Buddha, depending on what you refer to it as, is governing the intelligence. The 23rd card in the tarot is the King of Wands, which is fire and fire. Fire and fire with 23, and it's symbolized by the royal lion. 23 is a very sacred number, and it is at least 23 because it's associated with 5. It's associated with this form of protection in a way that the number 5 utilizes. Michael Jordan, he wore jersey number 23. LeBron James wore jersey number 23. A lot of people, whether they know it or not, use that number. It's you know, and it's a good remedy for those who perceive bad luck.
Okay.
I notice I use the word perceive bad luck. As you know, some people believe in it, some people don't. Erica Pierotti says, now she was born on the 30th of August, which is yesterday. Happy birthday, belated birthday. So the 30th, The number 30 is very strong, and it is a number where people who carry it have this air of mental superiority over their peers. And it's not that, oh, I'm smarter than everybody. It's not like that. It's just, that's just how they feel. It's just an intrinsic feeling. And from their experience, a lot of people around them don't get it. And so they're like, hey, really? Dang, like, I know more than these people. You know, that's what the 30 feels like, because 3 rules the planet. It's ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is expansion. It's you know, that type of energy. Let's see. Oh, go for it. Ed, go ahead. Ed has a question.
So, while running board for your show, you've been talking a lot about the significance of various numbers. But there was one number in particular that I've always kind of been curious about. I never really understood the significance of it. Would you mind elaborating a little bit about the significance of the number 0?
Wow.
Because with the Fool, you mentioned earlier about the Fool tarot card, and that number, I believe, is supposed to represent 0 and whatnot. But would you mind explaining a little bit about that number?
So, the number 0. I'm really glad you asked about the number 0. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's a secret, no, I'm joking. So with the number 0, we're talking about, and I want to give credit to a person who gave me some insight on this. Dean, he shared with me that the 0 corresponds to the halo. 0 is the closest number to source. 0 is source. It represents source. That's why it's a portal. It's a circle. Okay. When in movies and TV shows, what do angels have over their head?
Almost always a halo.
A halo. What number is that?
It's a 0.
Exactly.
Okay.
In the chakra system, right? We have 7 chakras. What's the chakra on the top? What's it called?
I'm afraid I'm not too familiar.
The crown. Right?
Okay.
The crown is a circle. Really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So that's what 0 represents. 0 represents source and connection to source. That's why when babies are born, they all start at 0. Babies, like actual babies, newborns, and they're the most connected to source beings. It's just when they just don't have the language yet to express the things that they know.
Makes sense.
As they get older, farther away from source, depending on what your belief or background is in your school of thought, they learn what society wants them to know, become conditioned by school and stuff like that. But if you listen to how children talk, the words that they use, especially 5 years and under, they say very interesting things. You hear parents nowadays talking about, yeah, my daughter told me that she was from the stars. My daughter told me she was on planet Mars, and that rhyme too. But, talking about just a lot of different things. Some kids talk about, I'm from the moon, I'm from this planet. And then, you know what? We're adults, we got rational minds, and we're thinking, oh, okay, that's cute. Like, that's cute. That's kid talk. That's what the little fantasy world. But it'd be very interesting when you really take another look at what the kids are saying, especially what they dream about, especially what they see. Very interesting. Why? Because they're the closest to that halo. They're the closest to that crown. They're the closest to the number 0.
Closest to the source.
Exactly.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Oh, man, that really does. Thank you, because I've always been wondering what the number 0 represented. That makes a lot of sense.
And not just that, but 0 is an amplifier. It's an amplifier. There was people trying to understand the 0. Here's just an analogy. So you have 4 people. They're trying to understand the 0, right? One, he's like, okay, I'm going to understand the 0. I'm going to add 0 to all the numbers, and I'm going to see what happens. So he added 0 to 1, it still stayed at 1. He added 0 to 2, it still stayed at 2. Then he's like, okay, I noticed something. So I'm going to add 0 to 25. And he added 0 to 25 and it stayed 25. So he didn't get, he's like, oh, okay, we don't need it. Right? There's just an illustration. Mm-hmm. So then one guy says, okay, well, I'm going to do subtraction with the number 0. I'm going to take, that guy used 25. I'm going to use 25 now. I'm going to subtract 0 from 25. It just stayed 25. So he gave up. Then one guy said, okay, this guy added, this guy subtracted, so I'm going to multiply. So he tried to multiply. He thought he was clever. He's like, I'll get more from multiplying it. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to multiply 33. He just a random number. I'm going to multiply 33 by 0, see what happens. He multiplied 33 by 0. He's like, yeah, I'm clever, right? So he multiplied it, and it came out to 0. So he gave up. He was like, man, what's the point? So then the last guy, he's like, oh, man, why'd they give me the 0? And of all the things they gave, the only thing they left for me to use was division. Mm-hmm. How could I, if I divide anything with division, it's going to give me less. So why would they give me the 0? So he's like not looking forward to it. But anyway, one day he's like, okay, I'm going to go on the computer. I'm tired of waiting. I'll just do it, get it done. I'm going to divide the number 1 just to get this done. I don't want to think about it. By 0. So he types it in on his computer. And what happens is, on that computer, when he pressed enter to divide, it just went infinitely. The result was infinite. So infinite that the computer crashed.
Wow.
So anytime you input that on a computer or a calculator, it will show you as error. Anything divided by the number 0 results in the error because the computers cannot compute infinite.
Wow.
0, someone just commented, and this marks the example perfectly. Neo Blue Star. He says he calls it the sacred circle. And he said it encompasses the all, nothing and everything, the great void.
Interesting.
And so, just different ways of looking at that number energy. How are we doing on time?
We're gonna have to wrap it up in a
Awesome.
quick minute.
Glad I asked. So we got few people. We got Jason Ross. He's born on the 16th. The number 16 correlates to 1 and 6. 1 is independence, confidence, creativity. 6 is about adjustment in relationships, family, community, and things like that, right? So when you have this, it's the individual struggling with their individuality and their duties and responsibilities. The challenge here is freedom. The 16th card in the tarot is the Tower. The Tower can illustrate shocking things, experiences. 16 is a karmic number. Don't have too much time to talk about it. If you want to know more about it, you can call me at 209-898-4103. That's 209-898-4103. Other than that, today's show, I don't even know if we talked about the number of the day. Today's show has been brought to you by the number 31. 3 and 1. 3 is expression and sensitivity. 1 is independence, confidence, creativity. Number 4 is the structure, stability, process, and order, ruled by the 4th card in the tarot, known as the Emperor. 31st card in the tarot is known as the 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands is the energy of 5, movement, motion, travel, freedom, but also kind of competition. 5 of Wands is a card that is illustrating competition and defending your stance of something. But it's kind of like a friendly, kind of a fun competition as well. It can be. So, guys, that is our show for today. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the box. Check out the book, Power of the Unconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Really good book. And that is our show today. Thank you for tuning in. This is Darius Oliver, Divine Numerologist. Have an awesome weekend.